we are going live.
Yep.
We should be live on the YouTubes,
Yeah.
assuming Pulse Audio is working today. So, you guys hanging out in the YouTube chat, let me know yay or nay on the audio, not just on my audio, but also these guys' audio, because
Hello.
my audio is on a different stream than theirs. So, say something, Dark Zero.
Hello. How are you guys?
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, can you hear me?
We got you. Got you, Grayson.
Cool.
Yep. All right.
What's up?
What's up, dog? chilling.
Chilling.
We got Hip Dad in the house. Yeah, that sounds okay. Yeah, Andreas, appreciate the confirmation on the audio.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So yeah. So this patrons cast came around a little quicker this time around. I think the last one last month was right at the end of the month. This one have a little bit of a
Yeah,
time.
we still
before
got
we
a
get to
week
the end.
almost.
Yeah, but I'm kind of glad it worked out that way, because the last couple of years we've been running into some holiday problems with the November and December streams, because the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday is that last Thursday in the week, which, you know, a lot of people are on vacation and traveling, and then of course we got Christmas and New Year's that run up, you know, on us the last of December. So I think we had one of these scheduled like on a Saturday. Was it 2 years ago? That was actually either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. It's like, well, nobody's going to be here for that thing. So we had to, yeah.
Hey, that's worked out right after my birthday.
Today's your birthday?
And yesterday was my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, guys,
for
what you
getting
been
older.
up to within the Linux world?
No, not much for me. I mean, other than, you know, obviously I use Linux every day, but as far as, you know, exploring new things, not too much. I mean, I've played around a little bit with Hyprland the last month. I haven't been living in it necessarily full time. I spent about a week and a half, you know, really taking a good look at it. Now, here in the last week or so, I haven't played with it much. I'm actually in Qtile recording today, because all my OBS scenes are set up for Qtile. So I always log into Qtile on this machine every time I, you know, stream or do a recording, except for the videos specifically about Hyprland, obviously. Then I'm recording Hyprland for that.
Well,
But, you know, it's been interesting.
Do you agree that Hyperland is not for everyone? It's for people who have a better idea, understanding of what Linux is?
Oh, it definitely would not be something you would put a new user on. I mean, it would be a nightmare. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like somebody yesterday on the during the voice chat with on Matt's channel from the Linux cast, something was brought up, like setting your default browser is not that straightforward, because there's no GUI to do that.
Right.
Yeah, and anything that doesn't have any accessibility to us, that can be a problem for me, so I can't use Hyperland.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem with long-time Linux users, even if, you know, people that are familiar with Linux, but not necessarily technical users, but, you know, like I've got a lot of friends and family that I put on Linux, you know, 10, 15 years ago. They're not they know nothing about the command line. They're not power users, but they use Ubuntu, for example, for the last 10 years. You know, I can't just throw them in something like Hyprland. I mean, that would be
definitely not.
It would be a train wreck. All right.
Yeah.
I can do it on a virtual machine. I can do that.
Yeah, well, Hyperland and virtual machine don't play nice together, because it relies so heavily on hardware acceleration that you're not gonna it's gonna work technically, but the hardware, with the absence of hardware acceleration, it's gonna be very slow and laggy and not enjoyable.
Well, not necessarily.
Unless you do pass-through, GPU
no, not really. Like there are GPU techs for what is it called, for VMs, like for a while now, like 3D rendering, like in GPU.
Yeah, I tried the QEMU with OpenGL and hardware. Not pass through, but better hardware acceleration. The maximum.
I don't even think you need all of that. I mean, I don't know about Hyprland specifically, but I know I've tried Sway plenty of times in virtual machines, and it was fine. So I don't.
For me, it was laggy. Maybe because Back home, I have an old NVIDIA
Well, it might
card.
be if you're talking about like the animations and stuff. Yeah, sometimes that stuff can be a problem in a
Yeah,
virtual
that's what
machine.
I'm talking about. The
That's but
animations and
that can be relegated.
But that's
down
normal
to
in
parallel
everything. That's
flight
normal in
system.
your desktop environments. Like if you turn on all the crazy wobbly windows and none of that stuff.
yeah, but Hyprland is all about the shenanigans like that. Without those, it's not enjoyable.
Okay.
So, but as far as
I might disagree with that because I'm one of those people that I would probably either really dial down the animations if I really lived in it, or I might just turn them off altogether. So,
I always turn them off.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of people who turn on the rainbow window borders animation. I don't know why they would do that, but
no, I'll keep the borders because I need a border to let me know what the active window is.
Yeah, but animated, like rainbow animation.
But I don't need all the flashy animations. That stuff kind of gets in the way, especially if the animations are a slower animation. Because a lot of times when I'm hitting things on the keyboard very fast, opening, closing windows very fast, I'm moving faster than what the animation is doing, and it bugs the hell out of
me. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, I had an idea for months that suddenly, for whatever reason, or not for whatever reason, suddenly, weirdly enough, Eric Dubois from XeroLinux had the exact same idea. I don't know. We're so much we're so synchronized, him and I. We tend to think alike very often. But I've had this thought in my head for the past 6 months to instead of offering multiple scripts for each DE, a separate script, to fork Arch install, delete all the profiles, keep the just the ones I care about, like GNOME, like XFCE, like KDE and stuff, and have the users use Arch install with my desktop profiles and my configurations without having to run a post-install script in Arch root. So basically, all they have to do is install wget and then and curl, and then run my script, which will git clone my Arch install fork and run my script, Arch install -- advanced. So instead of having a million different scripts that users have to run separately. So they just select profile instead of having all the profiles that Arch install provides. It will have only the ones that I have customized myself.
Yeah, the only thing that I would worry about with something like that is if you're relying on somebody else's script, the Arch install script, when they change things, it could break what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. No worries about that. That's what this is part of my job as a distro maintainer. I like doing such things. And the way I'm going to be doing it is I'm going to fork it and keep it connected to the original project. And whenever they push an update, I merge it, and then I update the one on my system, test it, and fix any breakages. That's the distro maintainer's job. So, and I love doing that stuff. So, and the best part is they don't have to build the custom ISO. They don't have to do anything. Just boot the official Arch ISO and just run the command that I mentioned on my guide, and it will do everything automatically.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
And that's actually the time saver right there, is not having to build your own ISO, which can take forever.
Yeah.
Especially when you run into problems where things are broken, you got to rebuild ISOs multiple times. You can spend a whole day,
yeah, exactly,
testing a new ISO. Yeah.
So instead of building an ISO again and again and again and again, I just use the default Arch ISO and test my script over and over and over again. And now with the mini PC that was donated and turned into my Proxmox server, it's a really powerful mini PC. It's no slouch. I'm just going to upgrade it to 32 gigs of RAM soon. But other than that,
to the point though, I think the Arch install script, while it's fantastic, I would never tell anybody not to use it. Like the original command line installation, it's simple enough Heck, everybody should just go read the Arch Wiki and run through that install guide. You'll be up and running in 10 minutes if you just follow along.
Yeah, true. But we all know we've all been using Linux long enough to know that, and we've been part of the Linux community long enough to see that the simpler you make things, the more.
Well, here's how I would approach this. It's a crazy idea, but I would tell them to install Arch the Arch way. But I would do it via a script where I will, instead of them going to read the wiki, I'll give them the command. It's like, okay, here's where we create our user. And I'll give them the command, you know.
I'm going to give you another perspective, the team. Someone who can install this stuff myself, like Arch is like easy to install. It's not that hard. But I don't want to, honestly. That's what automations are for.
Exactly. Exactly to my point.
Why would I need to install, like, type in bunch of commands to install Arch when there are myriad automations available, or I can make my own? Because
that is strange.
Why the hell would I do that by hand?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't say you wouldn't do it, Big Pot. I was speaking as somebody, like if I was creating a script for people to install. It's mainly to save my time, not to save your time. I don't care about your time. Right? I only care about mine.
Nobody should do it.
Yeah, but this is very strange. This is one of the rare times I 100% agree with Big Pot. So my part for my users,
dogs and cats living together, right? That's from Ghostbusters, right?
No, but for me, for my users, because I'm doing this for my users, I try to simplify things as much as possible without making the distro, telling people that this distro is intended for noobs. I mention it on my Ko-Fi store that this distro is still Arch. Don't let the likes of CachyOS or EndeavourOS or any other Arch spin deter you into thinking that all of a sudden it's noob friendly. It will, no matter how much coat of paint we throw at it, at the core, it's still Arch Linux. If you mess with it too much without knowing what you are doing, it will break on you. More often than other systems like Ubuntu and the rest of them, there's a higher chance for Arch to break on you than the others, like
that
Fedora
means it's badly
and
made. If it has higher chance of breaking, that means it's badly made.
Yeah, but so if I know what I'm doing and I present them with an automation script, well, it's not going to automate everything. They still have to go through the Arch install. But instead of, when they go to profile desktop, instead of having all the ones that Arch install provides, it's going to just have the 3 or 4 that I provide. Yeah. And I will be adding more.
I mean, there's a trade-off with everything, though, Steve. Like, you're right. Things like Ubuntu LTS or Debian Stable, they don't break as much as a rolling release like Arch or Gentoo. But at the same time, you will have the occasional user that
will break them.
That needs new drivers. They need the latest kernel. They need something that's not going to be there in that stable static release distro.
True.
Where if they'd been on Arch, they would have got the latest driver. Right. So,
Yep. Like,
but in most cases, they don't need that. Most people,
in most cases, they don't. But you will find some people on, like, the Ubuntu forums. You'll find the occasional person asking, "How do I get the latest kernel?" For example.
But reality is, people who understand that who need and know to need, also probably know how to do it themselves.
But to add to what DT was saying is, like, Ubuntu are still offering the for example, the NVIDIA drivers 560, which have a lot of issues, security risks. They don't offer the 565. You will have to wait until the next LTS release or the next release of Ubuntu in order to get the 565 drivers. They don't upgrade the drivers on their repos. They keep the same old drivers until the next release. With Debian, they still have 535. Debian still have 535. They don't have the 560.
Yeah, Debian hangs back a little bit, but Ubuntu usually is ahead of Debian on those drivers.
Also, that doesn't go together with my experience of NVIDIA drivers on Ubuntu.
Because don't they pull from the testing repos? Those
no, they literally have their own, and like
they have their own, but they're still, because the guy did a stream a week ago about the latest Ubuntu, and they still offer 560, whereas NVIDIA themselves told people move away from 560 because it's got security leaks, memory leaks, and all these kind of leaks and vulnerabilities and stuff.
Okay, let me see, because I highly doubt they didn't update to something new.
Well, I'm talking from a week ago. I don't know what changed from a week ago till now. But as of a week ago, they still had the 560 drivers on their.
When was 565 released? I really don't know anymore.
Like I think
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, maybe.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Roughly. Yeah.
Yeah, that should have been there. Like, I don't really care about this.
Maybe they offer them. Maybe they offer them as beta right now.
No,
on Ubuntu.
No, they might have a PPA. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Nope.
Maybe.
Normally they are in Prime repos. NVIDIA. Let's see.
But for Arch, I'm trying to offer because I already offer the ISO KDE ISO for donation. I can offer on the opposite side for free an ability for more advanced users to go through the Arch install script, the custom Arch install script that I'm going to create. I've had this idea for 6 months, and Eric suddenly makes videos about the exact idea I had in my mind yesterday and today. But right now I can't work on anything because I don't have a desk, I don't have a chair. I'm literally sitting on my bed. If I sit too long, I have a backache. So I'm still waiting to decide. I'm giving myself a few weeks more to decide if I'm staying here or I'm going back home. I'm not going to buy anything until I am 100% confident that I'm staying here.
Well, as long as go ahead.
If you're sitting in a bed, you can use this monitor stand that I'm currently using.
Yeah, but it's not comfortable to type on a keyboard while laying in bed. I can't sit in bed. I lay in bed.
Ah, okay.
So right now I'm wasting time watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I'm currently.
I love that show.
I just ordered the Blu-ray collection of the original series for $70.
Now, guys, this whole story about him having a backache, that was just an excuse for him to lay in bed and watch Star Trek.
No, it wasn't an excuse because I'm not productive, and I'm not used to not being productive. Back home, I was productive every day.
How many times have you watched the entire Next Generation?
3 times.
In my lifetime. Probably. I've never counted, but that's probably how many times I've watched all the series through. Yeah, I've watched them all probably about 3 times now.
Yeah, the reason I bought the Blu-ray edition is because it's remastered to 1080p, and it includes 2 versions of each episode. One version is the upscaled with the original special effects, and another version, the upscaled plus upgraded visual effects.
And can you actually tell a real difference?
Well, I haven't watched it yet. That's why I ordered it.
I'm just curious because a lot of times those things, are kind of gimmicky. You really can't tell the difference between.
Come on, with 1966 and. I think you will be able to tell between 1966 and modern.
I thought you said the Next Generation.
No. The Next Generation is what I'm watching now. The one I ordered is the original series.
You probably can, because if it was filmed on film, it can be really well upscaled.
Yeah, and I read, when you go to Blu-ray.com, there's a review of the remaster. And it's all positive reviews. 5 over 5 stars all over the place.
What is Blu-ray.com?
Wow. Blu-ray.com is a website that announces new available Blu-rays with the opportunity for various users who purchase the Blu-rays to review them and tell you give you their opinions of the image quality, the upscale quality from a cinematic perspective, because they know what they're talking about. It's users who know what they're talking about, who either studied or it's their passion or whatever. But they review the audio, they review the video quality, They review the aspect ratio.
How did these people get that domain name? Because surely they don't own the
no,
the
it's by
trademark for
Blu-ray. It's by the Blu-ray company, I think. That's why
Really?
it was just a place to announce new Blu-rays, and now they added, not recently, but like 5 years, 6 years ago, they added an option to review the Blu-rays. But the audio is apparently, according to that website, is amazing. The visual quality is amazing. Some people are torn between the upscaled visual effects, because in order to include the the upgraded visual effects, they removed, apparently they did something called denoising, DNR, digital noise reduction. So, which caused it to lose its authenticity.
Probably lost the film grain.
Yeah, and when you lose film grain from things like that, it loses its authenticity.
To me, honestly, to me, it doesn't matter. Film grain to me is annoying to watch.
No, for me, it's not annoying because I come from a cinema background. The film grain gives you the impression that the image you're looking at is alive. At least this is from my perspective.
Well, to me, it's just an annoying mess on screen that I don't like.
It's not wrong. We cannot say it's wrong or right. It's different people, different opinions. My opinion is that without film grain, that's why I hate the remastered Star Wars, because they killed the film grain, and it's no longer alive to me. It's no longer authentic. So my authentic experience.
You're not necessarily wrong there, Steve, as far as on the Star Wars. I agree. They overworked it a little bit too much in those. Yeah.
And
Star Wars has other problems.
It has so many daggone problems, Big Pot, it ain't even funny, man. And Derek, I will agree with you and Steve about this. The remastered Star Wars, oh my God.
It's trash. It's absolute trash.
You're right, Steve. I gotta tell you, I mean, I was sadly not around when the original Star Wars films came out, but I've honestly never gotten to experience them except for on Disney and other remastered places. So I never got that experience, man.
I got to see Return of the Jedi in theaters.
Lucky you, dude.
I was lucky enough. I was lucky enough to find a friend whose dad had the original laser discs of the original trilogy.
Oh, sweet.
So
I've never used a laser disc before.
Yeah, most
people haven't used a laser disc before. Those are hard to come by.
Yeah, we managed to rip them and put them on DVD.
Oh, sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually have the tape versions of the special editions, but my dad and I tried to copy them over to DVD, and sadly, it almost freaking destroyed the tapes.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So we just gave up on it because it almost overwrote the A New Hope version. We just finally gave up.
No, I still own them. And I treasure them. They're in my cinema vault. The hard copies, they're in my cinema vault. I don't have them digitized to my computer. They're still on hard copies, and I put them in my. I have 10 movies that stay in that vault, and they will only leave that vault if I want to watch them.
Yeah.
There's THX 1138, 1971 film by George Lucas. It was his graduation film, which was 15 minutes long. He turned it into a long feature film with Duvall.
Man, you got lucky about that one.
Yeah, in the olden days, my username, my social media name was THX 1138 for the longest time.
Oh, cool.
So I value this movie. There's the original trilogy of Star Wars. There's Star Trek original series. I have them on DVD, but now I'm gonna soon I'm gonna have them as Blu-ray. And Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Wow.
What else? Star Trek Voyager.
You got
well, obviously you got to have Deep Space Nine. So
yeah, of course I have Deep Space Nine
because that's the best of the Star Trek series.
Oh my lord!
And I have Fritz Lang's M, a movie by Fritz Lang in 1927, 28, whatever. I have Nosferatu, the original Nosferatu, 1926.
Metropolis?
Metropolis, yes. I have Metropolis. And Triumph of the Will. That's a very, very controversial documentary by a news person that was with Hitler. She accompanied Hitler every step of the way.
Goodness.
If that ain't controversial, I don't know what is.
Yeah, that is very controversial. So, and there's a film I forgot the title of. It's a Japanese film, but I cannot describe it because you're gonna get demonetized. But suffice it to say, it's all about passion and love and control.
Man.
Yeah.
So
well, let's not talk about
a lot
your
of
adult
weird
film
films
collection, Steve.
I got a lot of films like that. Weird films from back in the day. I treasure them because I found them in remastered 1080p quality.
Hey, I like to live on a starship, the USS Enterprise D.
Yeah, my favorite Enterprise is the Enterprise D as well.
I love that ship so much.
Yeah.
We found the nerds in the group.
Yeah, I hate Discovery. I really hate Discovery's Discovery ship design. I hate the new Strange New Worlds design. All that non-canon I don't like.
I'm not a fan of Star Trek Picard. I feel like the shows are just dark.
It is. My favorite is the original series. The original series had a lot of comedy, and I love the fact that Majel Barrett, Gene Roddenberry's wife, who went from being the first officer in the pilot to being the doctor, the nurse in the original series. I love that she's always present, and I love Dr. McCoy, Spock. Without Spock, there is no Star Trek.
Yeah.
So yeah. Otherwise, I'm still optimizing XeroLinux. Going back to Linux news, still optimizing XeroLinux.
Let's get back to Linux for just a second. So we've been warning for a few months that this was coming, but now Riser FS is officially out of the Linux kernel. Yep. So does that affect anybody?
Not me.
No, of course not. It was a rhetorical question, but
on the other hand, Bcache FS is having a hard time integrating itself into the kernel now. Linus Torvalds blocked his latest merge requests.
And he got suspended too.
Yeah, he got suspended.
It's not that just to tell those who don't know the story. It's not that Bcache FS has trouble integrating itself, like the code base. The person is a dick.
Yeah, the developer is a dick. He thinks because he's such a smart developer that the rules don't apply. The code of conduct rules don't apply to him.
Not just that, like the rules of development don't apply to him.
Yeah.
And then I don't care about code of conduct. I care about rules of development, and like there's so many things he does that are like totally against the rules of development. And I was waiting for the day that he's gonna get his comeuppance.
He's got this holier than thou attitude.
Yeah. He thinks because he's making what he terms the best file system, It is his right to dictate terms of the how kernel should work.
Yeah,
of course.
Or how kernel development should work. Let's be clear.
Yeah. So I'm like, what the hell? Come on, Linus Torvald, kick this guy out and let's get it over with.
Well, if you want somebody to do that, Linus is the one, right? So.
Yeah. kick him out. Remove his code. Let him work on his own file system for another operating system. Let them deal with this guy.
Like, if there's a developer out there that's got some issues and you want him to be put in his place, just have Linus do it.
I'm not saying that he cannot work that this file system cannot work for Linux, but the developer needs to actually know his place. He isn't the king of the kernel. That's Linus.
Yeah, exactly. And Linus did mention to him, your file system has potential. Just follow the code of conduct and do like everybody else is doing. He refuses. He's like, no, I'm better than you. Had he even said the F word, and he called Linus bad names and whatever.
Oh my lord.
Well, at one point he said that Linus should probably make his own file system. He's so smart.
Yeah.
And the ironic part is Linus did make the VFS, the underlying tech for all file systems.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I don't know what's going on, but for example,
it's not that big a deal. You've got a few people out there in the free software community that are they don't
know how to.
They don't work well with others. Yeah, they're socially awkward. They don't know they don't know how to treat people. And quite frankly, Linus is one of those people himself. But obviously, this guy is too. And when you get folks like that together, sometimes bad things happen.
I can give you another
case,
a
I'm not sure. Example. It just doesn't know how to play well with others. I think it's actually the problem is rooted more deeply somewhere.
Yeah, I can give you.
He needs professional help. Is that where we're going?
I'm not saying professional help, but I think he, from what he thinks about his
because there are some there are some lead devs out there of some projects. I'm not going to name names, but there are a few that I do think probably could like talk to a mental health professional and actually benefit from it.
Let's be realistic. Most likely, most people should at least once a year talk with such a professional anyway, right. No matter who you are.
Hug it out, cry it out, do something, right?
Yeah,
just like talk.
Like in my case, I learned the hard way that before implementing anything in XeroLinux, I throw the idea by the users on Fosstodon. I say, what do you think of this? If I included this feature, would you like it, or would you want me to leave it out? And then I create a poll, and I take action according to the poll. Like I was going to include custom GNOME rice in the GNOME script or in my toolkit. They were like, nah, leave it as is, leave it vanilla.
Yeah.
The overwhelming people said, keep it vanilla, let us do whatever we want with it. I was like, okay, you get vanilla GNOME. So I do throw ideas.
I mean, vanilla GNOME's not horrible now, in the 40 series. It's usable.
Yeah, and I didn't want to include extensions that I will have to maintain and whatever, but I was throwing the idea out there. Because I noticed that the selling point of XeroLinux is the rice that it includes for KDE. So I was thinking maybe a GNOME rice would sell my GNOME edition. My GNOME script, let users more users use it. Apparently, no, people don't care about customizing GNOME because apparently they understand that including extensions might break GNOME, because the GNOME devs hate extensions.
Well, that's been the case for over a decade now. I think most people by now realize that why waste time on something it's not going to last very long. Like the next update of GNOME is probably going to break everything you do anyway. So
yeah, so
why bother?
And
Hey, one
that
thing,
Linus Torvalds utterly very verbally voiced his disgust at how they removed features just because a few people found them hard to use. So he stopped using GNOME at that point due to the.
You're talking about he was criticizing GNOME?
Yeah, this was 12, 13 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, I remember with GNOME 3, he was very critical of the early versions of GNOME 3, but everybody was. I mean, that was...
Yeah, I remember him saying that if you create something with the mindset of making it idiot-proof, then only idiots would use it. That was his rant.
Well, a lot of people had, like some of the things they did that made absolutely no sense. They had a fantastic file manager, Nautilus, and that they started, like they removed like 25% of the features out of it.
Yeah.
For really no reason. And it's like, why are you doing that?
They dumped it down to such a degree that it's almost useless.
Well, I mean, now they started, they put a lot of it back in, but like those versions, like about 10 years ago, those early versions of GNOME 3, it was like you were missing features that you just had to have in any file manager. Like people were like, man, I can't even use GNOME if I got to use this file manager.
Yeah, hey, one thing I don't like about the GNOME is the flat user interface. I mean, a lot of buttons are like rounded and they have colors in them. I like the previous versions of GNOME where they had fake shadows on the buttons. It makes it more professional, but the new GNOME with the lib adware, it is flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I switched over to Cinnamon with the Mount X theme. And I get that nice gradients and...
Yeah, the Cinnamon, they did a lot of work on Cinnamon. They made it a lot better now. Especially the sticking to GTK3, that was the best decision they ever made.
Well, I mean, a lot of people, even when they're creating new applications, a lot of people will still create GTK3 applications just because they don't want to deal with, the mess with GTK4.
Yeah, and on XeroLinux, for example, for Flatpaks, since most Flatpaks are GTK3, Flatpak applications are GTK3 based, I figured out finally, after months of research, I finally found a way to make Flatpaks use the system theme by default without users even going into Flatseal or doing anything. It's just a file in var lib Flatpak. There's a file called overrides, and you include the overrides there, and you can control the overrides. For example, by default, I made all Flatpaks have automatically access to the user's home directory, because otherwise, by default, you had to, some applications, not all, some applications, you still had to give them access to the home directory.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I created a system-wide override to give all Flatpaks by default access to the user's home directory and the themes directory. So automatically, whatever you install, whatever Flatpak you install, it's gonna automatically be using the default theme that I'm using on XeroLinux. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I like the permission management system in Flatpak. For example, when I try to open up the Flatpak version of Moose Sequencer, it cannot find any any stereo plugins, so I had to go with native, and I've had one application break on Fedora and Noboa, and it was working perfectly on Arch Linux.
Yeah, like there's an application called Warehouse. It's a Flatpak application that allows you to manage your Flatpaks. You manage their soon. There's a new feature coming soon. It's managing the permissions within a Warehouse. And the best part of it, now, as it stands, it has a snapshots feature where it creates an archive with a snapshot of your Flatpak application that you can copy paste to another system and deploy it there and restore it there. Or if you want to do a fresh install, you just create a snapshot of all your apps and then put them on a USB. And then after having fresh installed the system, you just drag them back in and import them back, and you're done. You're back up and running without having to reconfigure anything. Like, for example, Vivaldi. I'm already logged into my Vivaldi. It remembers the open tabs before I did the fresh install. It remembers all my logins.
Okay.
I learned recently that you can actually install Flatpaks from Warehouse.
Yes.
You don't have to go to FlatHub.
Yep, exactly. They have an option at the bottom, the last option. You just search different remotes, because Warehouse also allows you to add, remove, manage remotes. You can, for example, on Arch, you can enable the Fedora remote if you're crazy like that. And you can search that remote, Fedora remote, for whatever application there, maybe because they have a better version of, let's say, OBS Studio, a more complete version of OBS Studio. You can install it from there. It's an amazing application. I'm gonna make a video when I come back about remake a video about this and showing off the new features.
Okay, cool.
It's an amazing application. People should know about it. If you use Flatpaks like I do, I use 80% Flatpaks, 10% native applications, and 10% AUR applications. So I'm mostly a Flatpak user because it's a peace of mind and ease of transporting the settings and the configs from one system to another without having to lift a finger almost. So I'm happy, and and it took me 10 minutes to restore everything on the new ThinkPad that I have from my old laptop. I just imported everything, and I was up and running within 10-15 minutes. That's it. So
I only use two Flatpak applications. One is Kodi that I run on my laptop, which is connected to my TV. I use it as my multimedia center. And the other one is the Matrix client element, because it's not packaged in my distribution. And that's the only reason that I'm using it.
Yep. Like, for example,
because
right
I
now,
am a packager, so I vastly prefer packaged applications because they are more I can do more with them.
You can tweak when you maintain a package. You have more control over it. But if there are apps, there are general purpose apps like, for example, my download manager, free download manager. I prefer installing the the Flatpak version of it, because all it is just a download manager that allows me to download various things. I don't need to customize it or do anything. But when it comes to packages that require me to modify them, I prefer the native package, of course.
I don't think in my entire Linux life I have ever used a download manager.
For me because
me neither.
For me, because in Lebanon, our connection is so bad. If we download it with the browser, it's gonna fail, and then when we want to download again, it's gonna start from the beginning. And and since I have 110 gigabytes a month only of cap, I need to manage.
I guess it depends on how big the downloads are. If it's going to take a long time, I guess it would make sense.
I
usually am not downloading things that are huge in size.
Especially for me, like we only have unlimited during the weekend. So starting Friday midnight, Sunday midnight, it's continuous unlimited. So I have two ISPs. So I reserve one of the ISPs to continuously download from Friday midnight all the way to Sunday midnight. So I have to add everything in a queue. Plus, because in a download manager you can queue multiple files, multiple downloads, and I only set it to download one file at a time. So when it's done with one, it moves to the next, and so on and so forth. So I need a download manager. Here, I'm still using a download manager because the downloads are extremely large, because my internet here is 300 down and 30 up. So I'm taking advantage. And when I purchase a game on GOG, instead of downloading it via the browser and failing and restarting over and over and over again, I just stick it in the download manager and start it at midnight. When I wake up in the morning, it's all done.
Kind of reminds me of Get Right from the 90s.
Yeah, like the recent release of Stalker 2. They released it on GOG as well, GOG. So I purchased it on GOG, but it's 170 gigabytes in size. So I'm not going to download that with a browser.
Who's getting big these days?
Yeah. So I'm like, nah, thank you. I'll download it on my download manager. It just took 45 minutes to an hour to download the whole entire thing.
Yeah, it is insane how much space some of these games take. You know, on my home computer the other day, I realized, you know, I've got 1 gig of space, or not 1 gig, 1 terabyte of space on one drive in that machine. And
I don't agree that it's crazy they're this big. There is a reason they're this big.
Yeah, textures, dude. Textures.
Yeah.
But
I realized I was running out of space the other day. I was running out of space. I was like at 95% of disk space used. And I realized, you know, I don't game that much. I went into I did a DU or DF command. Yeah, I was trying to find what was taking up all the space. Of course, it is the Steam downloads.
Yep.
So I deleted all my saved stuff in Steam.
Yeah.
And you know, it freed up like 400 gigs of space. I was like, what in the hell?
Well,
and I don't game that much. I would have never guessed that folder had that much stuff in it over the, I've had that installation for 3 years, maybe. I didn't realize, you know, all the games I downloaded. It wasn't that many games, but yeah, they take up so much space. I was like, man.
You would like mine. I have a 4 terabyte M.2 as my separate drive for Steam games, and I'm using 2.1 terabytes already.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I have a 1 terabyte NVMe dedicated for my games. It's an old Samsung 970, but I'm using with BattleNet plus Steam. I'm using like 95% of it, but if you count the games, I only have maybe 10 on Steam and 3 on BattleNet, and I'm already using 95%.
I learned something. You guys were talking about Flatpaks before I rebooted, but I learned something late last night. Flatpaks, you know, it's supposed to be convenient because you can remove the program you install, and it takes the whole Flatpak, and there's no cruft left over. That's a lie.
That's a lie.
Warehouse helps you with that. I installed a DICOM viewer, and it was called WeAssis, and I removed it because I didn't want it. I didn't like the interface, and it didn't. All it did was remove your application icons.
Nobody said it will remove everything.
The cruft behind. That's what Warehouse.
I had to delete them manually out of.
You don't need to.
That's been the case with Flatpak forever, though. It's always left a little bit of stuff behind. There's ways to purge all of it, though.
Yeah, Warehouse.
There's some kind of command you can give it.
No need for a command. You just open Warehouse, and there's a tab called Leftover Cruft. You just click on that tab and click delete. It will delete all the cruft left over for apps that are not installed on your system.
Yeah, well, the reason why I found out, I somehow I run into something where it was still accessing the internet.
Yeah, that was always one of the main complaints with Flatpak, especially in the early days, was when you removed an application, it didn't remove everything like you would expect it to.
Yeah, well, you can argue the same. You can argue the same with native binaries, because the native binaries don't all remove the leftover cruft either.
None of them do, and they do a piece per drop even when they try.
Yes, exactly. I
had an opposite experience about 20 years ago. So I used Mandrake 9.1 at the time, and I've needed an MP3 tag application, so I tested various command line applications just to see how they performed. And I only installed the packaged one from the repository. And one of the so I tested them, and when it didn't meet what I needed, or I didn't like it in some way, I just uninstalled it. And one of them, mind you, this was still a command line application. One of them, when I uninstalled it, it wanted to remove my entire KDE installation.
Yeah, it does happen from time to time. Yeah.
Now I've uninstalled things on my Arch systems over the years. I've had it a couple of times uninstall the kernel. And I've had it a couple of other times where it wanted to uninstall the kernel, but I caught it before I entered the command. But a couple of times I actually just hit yes. I didn't read what it was going to uninstall, and it uninstalled the kernel. And then I had to, use a live USB to root back in it and install the kernel.
And
I
that is back package.
I did that on an external virtual server once when I uninstalled unused orphaned packages in a Debian server.
Yeah,
and I noticed that so I was removing old kernels, and there was a command that you could use that remove old kernels, and it excluded the one that you were running. But somehow there was a hiccup in some way, because it removed the kernel that I was running, and so I always check the /boot directory just to see that it removed what I wanted, and there was absolutely nothing there. And
there's a command.
And installing the kernel was the thing, that because on Linux, when you install when you remove a file, if something is actually using that file, they only remove the pointer, but and everything works until the last thing that uses it. So just installing the kernel again was enough to save me. And at that, I think this was 4 years ago.
And Big Pod always likes to say that Pac-Man is not a real package manager. There is one command on Pac-Man you guys need to be careful with. And that's the command to remove orphaned packages, because that's the one that sometimes it gets tripped up and it will remove things like the kernel or your desktop environment, things that it has no business removing.
Speaking of, once I was testing a Spanish Arch-based distro because it had a nice feature. I don't remember what it was, but for whatever reason, the maintainer added aliases, like everybody does these days. But for the uninstall, he had an alias where you type uninstall and it uninstalls the package. But he aliased it to the wrong command. He aliased it to sudo pacman-rcns. So RCNS, what RCNS means, remove the package and its dependencies, ignoring the fact if it's going to break your system or not.
Right.
I'm like,
it does it without any kind of confirmation. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and he added it does confirm
confirmation.
Okay.
He should have added
users don't understand.
The no confirm
they just
flag
hit yes.
to it too, just to make it.
But users who don't understand, they just hit yes, and they think like, okay, so it wants to uninstall, let it uninstall, and it ends up uninstalling their entire system.
Yeah. So about 10 years ago. So I'm still using Magia, which was a fork of Manjiva in 2010. And they have some baggage from Mandrake and Manjiva because it suits their purpose. One of the things that they have is they have a shell script in the profile.d directory, which adds a few aliases. And they included for a very long time, I'm not sure if they do this anymore, but they added the -i, the interactive option to RMCP and MV, I think it was, to ask if you want to move 50 files from one place to another, it asks you for every single
everyone for confirmation.
Yeah, and I was very quickly annoyed by that, so I added my own aliases file, which unaliased the default ones. So that's one way to do it, to ensure that going forward have something which is run later in the boot process, which removes the aliases in your.
Yeah, I think it's the -I flag with RM and a MV and CP that is the interactive flag that will ask you to confirm you really want to
Yeah, if you want to remove like 10,000 files, that's going to be annoying.
Well, yeah, and what you should do then, you should know that you had the alias at that point, and you should just pipe that into yes, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Or you could add the in all those 3 commands, you could add the force the -F flag, which overrides the interactive.
Right.
Yeah, like which brings to mind the recent issue with Arch install, which stayed broken for like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, where if you after running the Arch install and you select Pipewire or Pulse, it would immediately fail because Arch changed something on the back end with Arch install, not noticing the change and keeping the old command in. So there was, as we discussed, Hypdead and Arch. Yeah,
Arch Penguin.
Arch Penguin. We discussed that some desktop environments do anyway bring a basic audio drivers with them. So Pipewire is not required, Pulse is not required. So you can install skipping the audio server installation in Arch install, while others did not. So you had to install Pipewire or Pulse post install. And KDE, I don't know why, KDE and some other desktop environments install just Jack and the basic Pipewire packages with some missing header, but it works. There's no problem with that. There's no issue with that, but it's still missing Pipewire for people who want to use it for capturing audio from external, whatever. So what I ended up doing was updating my toolkit to remove. It includes Jack 2. Jack 2 is not a Pipewire package per se. It's for advanced users who do audio production. So advanced audio production. So the recommended package is Pipewire Jack. So what I did in my toolkit was make it uninstall Jack 2 and replace it with Pipewire Jack, and install the missing Pipewire packages and GST plugins and firmware and whatever. So people were all coming to me telling me your script is failing. I'm like, it's not my script. You're running Arch install, and Arch install has been broken for the past few weeks. So they're going to update it, and they fixed it in version 3.0. And now my script doesn't need to be, my fixed Pipewire doesn't need to be run anymore. So Arch install is not perfect. People don't think that it's perfect. It's got its flaws.
Arco Linux installer is even worse.
Well, that's no debate. I'm not going to debate that because everybody knows XeroLinux was born from Arco, but I quickly learned that I could do better than copying everybody else. Just let me do my own shit. But I do credit Arco Linux for inspiring me to create my own distro.
I like the CachyOS installer.
Haven't tried it yet.
It's Calamares, but
it's Calamares, right?
But Calamares was like 3 terminal windows running in the background.
Yeah.
I don't know why we need to see that.
You know what? I was actually going to say the same thing. You know, for most users, they probably wouldn't want that, but I kind of like it. I like seeing what's going on.
Well, yeah. Did you know that there's a button next to the progress bar that you click that shows you exactly what's going on? That it shows you exactly what those scripts are showing you.
Yeah, it gives you a little.
It's embedded in Calamares. It's a window in Calamares. I mean, why do we need the terminal windows?
You get a bigger window. Why not? I mean,
but I must admit, I am not one to not to say this, but I do admit that the CachyOS, once you know what you are doing, they have so many good tools. So many good tools, beneficial for people who are tinkerers, who know what they're doing.
Yeah, they do a good job with that distro.
Yeah, like the kernel manager and what they do with the kernel itself. They have their own kernel, and I'm running it on Arch on XeroLinux right now. I'm running the CachyOS board kernel. Dude, it made my laptop behave better than my desktop. And the schedulers and the stuff, the optimizations to the packages, they maintain a shit ton of packages, like over 12,000, because they optimize all the packages on the official Arch repositories. And one of the maintainers of CachyOS works for Arch. He's part of the Arch developers. And because of his work, Arch now is considering the same optimizations like V3, V4, CPU optimized packages to the official Arch repositories.
Yeah.
No, the CachyOS developers, the CachyOS team, they're amazing.
That's the way it should work with these forks of Arch. They should contribute back up to Arch.
Yeah.
Like there should be more collaborative stuff.
I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do that, but I have a self-esteem issue where I don't trust that my contributions will be seen as a noob-ish contributions.
Really, the model to follow is the Debian and Ubuntu model, where pretty much if you're working on Ubuntu, you're a Debian contributor as well. Like they're so much working on the same things that it's beneficial to both projects, where so many people will fork a parent distribution, give nothing back, and there's no talk, even just discussions between the parent distro and the fork.
Yeah, like
there's many examples. We don't have to name the examples of those.
I do contribute to small packages, like the widget that I use in my Rice called App Datafier, which is an update notifier, and it has its own built-in terminal and commands and stuff. It's a very advanced, very advanced widget that I contribute to. I test it. I test the Git version whenever there's I reported 3 issues, and they were all fixed by the developer a week later. Like, he just released version 2.9, where he addressed all the crashing issues, because there was a problem where if there was a kernel update where it required the rebuild of init ramfs, it would crash your Plasma shell, and it will kill the update process. And if you reboot it after a failed update, you will end up with an unbootable system, having to reinitiate the init ramfs. So I told him about it. He fixed it within 2 weeks, and he released the fix in version 2.9. So I do contribute upstream to certain smaller projects, but I'm too scared of Arch. Contributing to Arch or KDE, that scares the shit out of me. I tried once with KDE. They just ignored it. Completely ignored it.
Yeah, I don't know much about KDE. I've never dealt with them. Some of the Arch people.
Yeah.
And they may be willing to work with you, but chances are you're going to get the wrong ones.
No, I cannot blame the entire community. There's one guy, I forget his name, and plus I don't want to name names. But there's this guy. He's very active. He's very active on the Arch forums. He replies to every single support request almost. But he's very negative. He's got this. If you're using Arch-based distro, you delete the thread and ignore. They will only answer questions related to Arch itself as pure Arch, vanilla Arch. So that's something I dislike a lot. This person, I don't. Whenever he replies, I'm like, yeah, he's gonna delete my thread. I'm not. I don't get my hopes up.
But having if we having this type of people who because in a few places that I hang out, you also have one or two users who will when people ask genuine questions, they will often jump in because no one else jumps in. And they are helpful. So every project has, or most projects have people who generally are there to help people, and they love nothing more than to jump in and help people, and they will go to great lengths.
Sometimes they're successful. Sometimes they're successful. Sometimes this people like this person jump in and close the thread, not allowing the people who want to help.
Yeah.
So it's like, my distro is Arch. I just put a fresh coat of paint on top of it and on top of KDE. That's it. I'm not messing with the system files. I just can't figure out why Grub and XFS are not behaving. He doesn't bother answering the question. He just locks the thread and doesn't allow other people to contribute. I'm like, you don't want to contribute, fine, but let others.
Because you're painting wrong.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell? So same thing happened on OpenSUSE. OpenSUSE back then, when I was trying OpenSUSE Tumbleweed with KDE, there was an issue with the network manager not connecting to the internet, not allowing my my internet to work. He was like, either put a delay, include a delay or whatever. He wanted me to break it even more rather than help me fix the issue. So he was, and then he locked the thread and he didn't allow anyone to help.
Yeah, I quit going to support forums on Linux about 15 years ago. I had a bad experience on the Debian forums. Just like, you know what? I'll fix my own problems. I really, you know, I don't necessarily need you guys. You guys could help save me a little time, but you know what? I'll investigate the problem. I'll figure it out myself. So
yeah, I remember I blew up once, and I was very calm in my response, but it was a Usenet thread where someone asked a question. This is 20 years ago, about maybe 25 years ago, and I still use Usenet. There was someone who asked a question, and there was few people replying, one or two people replying, and then there was someone who came in who very bluntly told this person to read the effing manual, but he didn't tell him which manual to read. Which I have no problem with people saying that you should read the manual, but there are certain people who they want to read the manual, but you need to tell them which manual to read.
Yeah.
So I said, my post boiled down to even you weren't born with this knowledge. You had to learn it at some point. And how are people supposed to learn if you don't tell them how to learn?
Like there was something I decided to do recently is to host my own MKDocs based website, like Drew does, who introduced me. Just a guy Linux introduced me to MKDocs. We worked on it together and stuff. So I set up my own documentation site where I document everything new I learn. Not only for my case, I do share some of the documentation that I create because it's suitable for other users. But I do include an info box saying that was tweaked to suit my own needs. Tweak it according to your own, if you should wish. But I document everything, and I'm trying right now to simplify the Arch install guide. I'm working on a simpler version of the Arch install guide because, to be honest, the Arch install guide is not really user-friendly, new user-friendly. There's a lot of technical terms where they assume that you have some limited Linux knowledge. So I'm trying to...
I wish the install guide gave like a set of instructions that should work for like 95% of the people out there.
Yeah.
They're like, you know, here's how to install things. Here's how you make your user, make your file system. I'm just going to assume you're going to use extend4, yada, yada. Like for normal people, hey, if you want to explore things that are not the extend4 file system, here's a link, go read.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to explore things that are not, for example, the Grub bootloader, if you want to explore different bootloaders, go read about other bootloaders. But give people a set of instructions that don't necessarily care. Give them a set of instructions that are just gonna work.
Exactly. Right? That's why I'm too scared to push the users to the Arch wiki, the Arch install guide, because the Arch install guide, it's do this, a whole page of explanation of what this does, while being super technical.
Nobody
they don't
needs
simplify
to read.
anything.
Nobody needs to read the bootloader page on the Arch wiki. You shouldn't have to read that. Like, just tell them to install grub, like 99% of Linux users are going to do anyway.
And here's how you install grub. This command, done.
Here's the command. Right? That's all you need.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do with my
command
my
that
version.
people, and the command that people tell users to run if they need to install something should not have the /y or the slash or the flag to automatically do it without asking. It should always prompt the user for this is what is going to be done. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, like I take it as a rule of thumb. Never use the -- no pacman the pacman
no confirm.
-- no
that's
confirm,
one you should never use. Yeah.
Unless you are 100% sure of yourself.
I use it sometimes in scripts if I know the command is going to fail and it's okay for me to override it anyway. Like there are times when it's necessary, but it's very rare. Like you should never just in general practice throw that no confirm flag on. That's a bad idea.
Yeah. The places where I don't use it is, for example, Steam, because when you install Steam, it's going to prompt you. Do you have an NVIDIA card? Do you have an Intel card? Do you have? If I use the -- no confirm, it's going to use the default choice every time.
Right.
What if the default choice was NVIDIA and you have an AMD card?
Yay.
So so I don't use the -- no confirm there. When you want to install the NVIDIA drivers, there you can use the -- no confirm, because it's a set in stone type of packages. It's not anything that will affect the system. So
I should mention that the Linux as a Jay from Linux TV, he does not like toxicity, and he did a video on that, saying that toxicity hinders the adoption of Linux desktop.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He doesn't
Right.
he doesn't like that. But for me, -- no confirm is to use sparingly. Because I've learned it the hard way, where I was doing remove a certain package -- no confirm, it completely messed up user systems. So I was like, never use it. Only use it when necessary. It's there are, as we grow, we learn what the right way of doing things and the wrong way of doing things, but we need to go through the hardship of testing.
Now the real problem with the no confirm flag in Pacman is they rename things in their Arch repos so often, or they'll move it to different repos. You really should read what's going on.
That's why don't use -- no confirm. Right. Let the user keep hitting enter as many times as required. But anyway, it's even if you, in this case, I would say, even if there was a conflict, even if you use -- no confirm, it will fail anyway. So there's a way around that. And with the recent Pacman 7.0 major upgrade, now they have a new feature where it's going to do containerized installs, not like containers, Docker containers, but it's going to like test packages in a containerized fashion or something, if I understood it correctly. So it alleviates so it removes the possibility of major breakages. So it includes a new user group called ALPM. So since XeroLinux I prefer to stay as close to vanilla Arch as possible. I apply every single change that Arch applies. I don't modify the system. I don't touch anything. I go with Arch, even though some decisions that Arch makes are against my philosophy, I include them anyway because the whole ideology behind XeroLinux is stick to the Arch way.
Well, I imagine we're probably just a couple of years from Arch, and really a lot of distributions. They're going to start going the route of like Nix and Geeks, where you're going to have like this generative build, where you can always roll back to a previous version if for whatever reason a update breaks. You just go back to your previous build.
Yeah, this is, if Arch includes that, oh my God, will it be a lifesaver? Yeah. Because we all know how much Arch tends to break itself. Just roll back instead of having to use a per package downgrade command.
Yeah.
Just roll back to a previous generation.
It makes more sense, especially for a distribution like Arch. I mean, I guess Nix and Geeks, there's some compilation. Like, they're kind of bleeding edge, but Arch especially really needs a feature like that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, recently, and BigPod is gonna like that, but I already told them yesterday. But whenever a new to Linux a desktop Linux user comes to me and he asks me what distro should I install, now it used to be, before it was a choice between Linux Mint or LMDE, Linux Mint Debian Edition. Now I tend to recommend either Bazzite or Aurora, because Bazzite and Aurora, like I'm gonna like fanboy, but George Castro is an amazing person, and he does amazing work with the UJust package manager, which is a wraparound top grade, plus more. It's not only, it extends the functionality of the distro. If you want to install NVIDIA drivers, just run UJust, install NVIDIA drivers, or install open NVIDIA drivers. Once you do that, it's going to take care of everything behind the scenes. You will not have to do anything besides running the command. They figured out ways, even for hybrid laptops, to make them work almost flawlessly, with the exception of laptops that rely on a mux switch. Those laptops are a nightmare for Linux, and they will be for a long time. Well, not a long time, because kernel 6.13, I think, will bring with it support for mux switches. But for now, they figured out almost a flawless NVIDIA driver installation. You just run UJust NVIDIA install, you're done. You reboot your computer, you're up and running. You don't have to do anything anymore. And if should anything go wrong, just roll back to a previous generation. Done deal. So those distros are more noob friendly than any other distro I've ever seen. You just tell the person you're installing those distros for, if you have any problem, here's how to you select this one instead of this one. Reboot. Done. So
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, those distros are amazing. I wish I was knowledgeable enough to work on my own version of these things, but they go way above and beyond my knowledge for me to be able to set foot in that world. So right. I'm sticking to what I know. And should more advanced users, like, for example, when it comes to hybrid graphics, my toolkit does something really funny. Like when it will prompt you, do you have a single GPU system or a hybrid system? If you answer with hybrid system, I say, go read the documentation. I don't know how to help you with that. But if you have a single GPU, it will take care of everything for you. But if you have dual hybrid, I don't got such hardware. I cannot give you the answer. Only you can find the answer. So go RTFM.
Oh, please not say that.
Well, I have no choice but to say that.
Sometimes it's the right answer. Because I often tell people, I get messages all the time about people having, various problems on whatever computer or laptop. They're using hardware that I don't have. They're using, software that I don't use. And I'm like, hey, you know what the problem with this is? And I'm like, no idea, guy. Like,
yeah, I can
investigate that yourself.
Yeah, like if I don't have, even if I had a hybrid laptop, I will only have one. and that's one config. There's so many different hybrid configurations in the world that it's impossible for me to give them a single answer that will work.
Yeah.
And I don't what I can't figure out is how does George Castro, or how did George Castro figure out the hybrid situation to make it work on such multiple configurations? When I asked him, he was like, no, we just supply a basic hybrid configuration. If it doesn't work, we get support requests, and we try our best to supply the user with a solution. But nobody can have all the solutions for everyone.
Well, one thing I'll put out there for anybody in the chat or anybody that watches this video later is never go and ask one person a support question unless you're certain that person has some knowledge about that particular piece of software, that particular piece of hardware you're talking about. You're almost certainly wasting your time asking them, that one person a support question. Go and ask in an actual support forum that's got maybe hundreds, possibly thousands of people that are going to see your question, and you're almost guaranteed to find somebody that's going to know the answer to your question. When you message one specific person like Steve in this case, or DT or whoever, unless I use your particular piece of hardware with that particular piece of software, unless I have the same setup, I have absolutely no idea what's going on with your system. And again, you just needed to go ask a bigger audience that question.
The exception to this rule is if that person is a friend of yours, maybe he helped you get going. And,
I'm not going to tell my friends and family. I'm not going to tell my friends and family to RTFM, but I'm talking about like people that don't know me, right? Like the general audience here. I guess you guys know me through video, but you don't know me in real life. Like it's different. Like if my mom calls me and asks me a question about her Ubuntu machine, I'm not going to tell her RTFM, right? I'm going to try to help her. Right?
For me, for example, recently there was a request or there was an issue reported that whenever that user ran an update, the system update, they will receive GPGME repository error. And if it didn't happen to someone before me and without them having figured out the solution, I wouldn't have been able to supply that user with the solution. The solution is very simple. Just run sudo pacman-fyy, not sfyy. It will regenerate the database. And for whatever reason, it's ISP related. It needs to some ISPs block some keys, and for whatever reason, and my repository doesn't use, it's a keyless repository, doesn't use signature keys, but for whatever reason it generates a GPGME signature error. It's a DNS issue. It's a DNS resolve issue, whatever. But when you run FYY, it forces the database update, and then you can use SYYU, and it will work just fine. But if it didn't happen to someone else before that, and without them having figured out the solution, no way would I been able to do that. So it requires a multitude of people it requires a community. You cannot do this with one single person or two people or three people. You need a whole community.
Right.
It's impossible. That's why whenever people come to me with a support question that I have no answer to, I'm like, I'll try my best to help you. I do my own research, but when I can't test it, I see that I cannot test it myself. I will tell them, here's a potential solution. While I cannot test it myself because I don't have the same hardware. If it doesn't work for you, wait for someone who has something hardware similar to yours. Maybe they can help. Sometimes it works.
I'll get questions like, some error that somebody's having on their Linux Mint machine. I'm like, I don't run Linux Mint. Like, have you asked on the Linux Mint forums or subreddits or whatever support channels you'd probably get an answer really fast on much faster than you would get messaging me,
Yeah, I remember, I think this was also 20 years ago. I had a problem installing a GUI front end to the M player or M encoder video coder that accompanies the command line mPlayer video player. And I couldn't. There was something that kept this from installing, and I couldn't figure out why. And I gathered the few hints that I knew, because I didn't know how to ask or to gather debugging information at the time. So I gathered I wrote an email with how I understand my understanding of the problem, and I sent the email to Richard Stallman, and he actually replied back with helpful hints on. And he was very politely, and he said that he didn't know, he didn't use the system I was using, but here are some hints as to what might be wrong and how I could fix it. And I don't remember which one, but one of them actually helped me in moving forward.
All we can do is do our best. If we don't have the answers, just instead of making it sound negative, we can just turn it to a positive thing and tell them that we are doing our best to give them a solution. If we can't, we'll direct them in the right direction to find a solution.
Yeah, Richard is actually pretty good at responding to emails, and not necessarily support things, but just be careful when you email him. Make sure you call it GNU/Linux.
Yeah, and then my approach to him, because I wanted to use it to encode in the new Og Vorbis video format that came around those days, which was my reason for installing this. And I think that's why he actually tried to help me.
He was happy you were using free software.
Yeah.
Most probably.
That's exactly.
And I remember in a year or two later, he came to my city that I lived in at the time, in Trondheim, in 2005-ish, around there, in February. And he had his free software talk. And this talk was what convinced me about the why free software is important, and having this access to the source code is important, and that you can do what you want with it. So I already knew what these various issues was roughly, but I didn't understand like the difference between the open source initiative and but so his talk was very clear on what the differences are, because there are differences, even though many people don't care what the differences are, but that's another story. So
yeah,
so I think I have sent him a total of 4 or 5 emails over the years, and he has replied to everyone. So he is very active on email.
Well, he's also very old school. Like, the only real forms of communication on the internet he knows, really the only form, is probably email. I don't know what else he would use.
So the benefit of using email, for those who don't know it, I think most of your viewers know this, but is everyone who receives an email have their own copy of the email. So it's not centralized in a server or in a forum. That can be
so like if you were using something like Telegram, it's all on their servers, where with something like email, it's locally stored.
Yep. The also when you do, I learned this. I'm training to do this because I'm looking for a remote support, after sales support, or technical support jobs. I'm training currently. I'm taking courses on an application called Coursive. How to respond to support tickets, and how to be friendly, and how to follow up on previous emails, previous cases, how to log cases and stuff like that. It's the fundamental of technical support or after sales support is be as friendly as possible, and if they annoy you, ignore and stay friendly, and call the right things by the right name. Because if you at the first sight of a small mistake, the customer will lose trust in the company or in the product you are representing, or the company you're representing, and you're gonna lose that customer.
I would love to be in charge of like a Linux help desk where people call in and need tech support for their Linux machine, because I promise you 90% of everything can be fixed by just telling them sudo reboot. Just sudo reboot fixes everything.
Have you tried recompiling it?
Yeah, recompiling. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's avoid simple answers. This is one of the things I'm learning. Avoid simple answers. Request details from the customer, as much details as possible, because without the details and without a backstory, you will never be able to answer the support ticket. And every support ticket that gets solved, you can make commission. It's like sales. The more tickets you solve, the more money you make.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm taking courses because I really need to find a job. I cannot, if I'm going to stay here, I need to pay rent, I need to pay electricity, I need to pay everything. Right now, it's I'm getting the first 3 months for free, but after that, for every single month I stay extra, I need to pay rent. Mm-hmm. So without income, I can't pay rent. I have to go back home, even though the war didn't end, because I have no way to pay rent here.
Well, I got my Cisco CCNA renewed last October, and I'm trying to get me a better paying job so that I can support myself.
Yeah, I wish it's that easy over here, but I need to train, because actual sales jobs, the company I used to work for, the premium Apple reseller that I used to work for in Dubai and in Lebanon exists here. I went to them and I asked them if I could, if they needed anyone. They were like, "Do you speak Serbian?" I was like, "No." They were like, "Come back to us when you know how to speak Serbian." I'm like, "Don't you have a position that is in the back room where I uninstall operating systems, backup, restore, technical stuff?" They were like, "We don't do that here. We have our own support house." I was like, "Can I work for them?" They were like, "It's a different company. It's an outsourcing company. So you have to apply, ask them." So I'm like, "Yeah, okay, forget it."
Yeah.
And Serbian is not very easy because it uses Cyrillic characters, and I'm not very privy to Cyrillic characters.
That reminds me. So I'm a member of the Norwegian Unix user group, NUG for short. We have been for a little over a year and a half, maybe, involved in. So people and companies, they donate old laptops. Then everything from 10 years old to 3 years old, because of recycling businesses. And we have so we started a project for gathering old laptops from people in order to install Debian EDU on it, also known as school Linux in some areas. And we have the problem is that we need to use either Norwegian or English for the installation, and then having to change to the Ukrainian local and keyboard and so on, which is not easy to do after the fact. And then so we used the pre-seed function in the Debian installer, which most of the Debian-based distributions like Mint and so on, you can feed the a pre-seed, so it doesn't ask us a single question during the installation.
Yeah, it's now with the new Ubuntu installer, you can feed it a YAML file, and that's all you need to give it, and it will do the rest for you. Exactly, it follows your YAML configuration file, and it installs the system as like a unattended install.
Yeah. The only but when I install for people that are going to use a system, so they ask me to install specifically Linux, I always install Linux Mint, simply because they have an OEM install option, which means So I install, and then I check that everything works, that the wireless networking works, and so on. And if I know that they will be wanting to use a specific program that is not installed, it's just the apt install something, and and make sure that it works. And then there is an icon that prepare for shipment to end user. And so and the next time the system boots, you get in first time welcome screen that you do with the Windows and the Mac OS. When you buy a new computer, you are asked for a language and your username, and off you go.
Yeah.
Guys, why am I just now finding out that we have this AI assistant to generate background images in Zoom?
Because you're not explorative.
Yeah, I would have never figured this out had I not seen some of you guys playing around with some images.
Well,
yeah, so I'm using my own local image.
Yeah, you're using the engineering room from Star Trek Enterprise.
No,
well, you just tell the AI companion that I wanted a river through a canyon with Chinese art. So
yeah,
nice
background. Doc Zero, I'm not on Enterprise, but on Voyager.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This is Voyager.
The only reason I did this on this live stream is because so many people hate this AI generated art that I just figured I'd trigger some people.
Yeah. well, you have triggered me because I'm anti-AI, as anti-AI go. I did when I watched your Olama video.
Olama's the best thing ever invented.
Yeah.
You can't convince me otherwise.
No, because it's limited to 2023. You cannot get answers from 2024.
Yeah.
But they updated it recently to Olama 3.2. But my issue with AI is once you start relying on it, you will stop thinking. And you will start relying, well, not all people, but it's risky where people, the wrong people might start relying on it too much and stop not thinking, as in stop thinking altogether. I mean, stop doing what they were doing and learning new stuff. They say, I don't want to learn how to do this. AI will do it for me. It's risky. And I don't want to take that risk.
Different
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree that it's risky. I mean, I use this stuff. I can't say I've stopped thinking.
I didn't say all people. It's risky in the wrong hands. Like some people, because I know myself, I am one of those people who is once I become comfortable, I start feeling comfortable relying on others to do my shit. I will remain doing. I'll keep doing it because I'm weak like that. Like today we were talking about the situation for me. Should I stay? Should I leave? My sister threw an argument towards me. She was like, if you go back home, you're going to be lazy again. Nothing will change. You're not going to do anything. You're just going to keep going to your shop, watching YouTube, going back home, doing a couple of things. And that's not going to help you make money. And because you're comfortable, that rent is being paid for you, everything is being done for you. And you're just going to be relaxing and just wasting time. Whereas here, ever since I came, I've been going out more. The darkness under my eyes disappeared. I became more active. My health became better. Everything got better. So she's like, no, here you're forced. You are being forced to find a job. You are being forced. The situation is forcing you to do the things that you should have been doing for a long time ago. So if you go back home, what are you going back to? You're going back to the situation you got used to. This is the argument I'm using towards AI as well, because I started using AI, and when I first started working on my toolkit, I was relying on AI to do everything for me. I didn't learn anything. I didn't. If you ask me what does my script do, all I can tell you is it installs this, it installs that. How does it install this or that? I don't know. AI came up with the script, not me. So I didn't learn anything. I didn't have the curiosity to look and do the research on what commands it's running. But afterwards, when I stopped using AI a while back, I started learning the commands, the if statements, the functions, and all that. So now I know better because I'm not relying on AI. because I'm doing everything manually. So some people like me who once they feel comfortable in relying on other people or other things doing the shit for them, it might be dangerous. But for you, for example, you know what you are doing. You're aware, and you are not allowing it to take over your thinking, or relying on it to do things for you without you learning.
Well, I'm usually not asking like these AI chat assistants to do something I couldn't do. It's more of I don't want to do it. Save me some time.
Yeah, that's another reason why in your hands it's okay, but in people
I would
like
never
me,
have an AI tool write an article on a topic I know nothing about. Like that would be, for one thing, it would be kind of irresponsible. For like I have no knowledge of this topic. I don't even know if the AI spit out false information, and then I'm going to publish that thing like that. There are problems in that area.
Yeah, some people, like, there's a lot of news agencies.
But if it's something I know about, I don't mind asking AI to write an article about a topic I already know about anyway. I can spot the errors.
Yeah.
But he saved me from, the AI saved me from typing it all out myself.
Yeah, but there's a lot of news agencies.
And you can specify with these AI tools, you can get really specific as far as what you want them to actually talk about in an article. You can say, hey, give me these bullet points about this and that. Like, it's not necessarily like it's just some randomly generated thing. Like you can kind of nail it down to specifics what you want.
Yeah, but there's a lot of news agencies out there who write bullshit news. They ask AI to write. They give it an article and a title. And
even before AI, there was a lot of bullshit. This auto-generated spam on the. That's what the whole spam thing that started with first email and then of course the World Wide Web has always been about people creating bullshit content that serves no purpose. I mean, that was the case before AI. It'll be the case after AI.
Well, now legit news agencies are using AI with, and even there was a book about.
I would argue that they're not legit, but okay.
No, I'm talking legit. I mean, like New York
news agencies really haven't been legit in at least a decade.
But what I mean by legit,
social media is the new news, to be honest.
Yeah, what I mean by legit, I mean big names. But
I know what you mean. Like the mainstream media is what you're.
Yeah. And there was even a book about pianos and music and electronic keyboards that was written completely by AI that people went berserk over because all the information in that book was false.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a misinformation, and people who didn't know any better trusted that book.
But like somebody like me, somebody with music degrees, I went to school for music, I would, if I asked AI to write me a book about piano, right, I could actually tell if it's actually giving me correct information or not. That's the thing. It's more of, the people. Some people are using the tool for the wrong things.
Yeah, like me.
Really, those are the exception. That's not the rule. That's not what most people are doing.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the rule, but I'm saying like for people like me who never had a single iota of knowledge when it comes to writing scripts, to go immediately to AI and ask it to write a script without me knowing anything about if statements and functions and all that. And trusting
but you don't think you learned a little bit by being served that example if statement? Say if you didn't know what an if statement is, it writes you that you didn't look at that if statement and go, now I see how that's done.
Yeah, well, I wasn't curious enough to have or that curiosity to ask to learn, because I was like, AI is writing the script. AI knows better than I do. So when I ran the script and it worked, I was like, yeah, it works. I'll rely on AI for all my scripts. So when I realized that the script, the reason I mentioned the sudo pacman-rcns in that Spanish distro, because AI, when I was writing my script to remove a package and replace it with another, I kind of used the same command. Without even noticing, because AI mentioned it. I just blindly copied and pasted it.
No.
So, but now because I'm curious and I don't rely on AI anymore, I just rely on AI to.
Well, if you are curious too, like the code blocks, I haven't played a lot with having like Ollama code for me. I've done some of it, but a lot of times, you know, if you do that and you don't understand the code block, you can actually ask it to explain the lines. Like it'll go through step by step and tell you exactly what each line does.
ChatGPT does explain, and I was using Claude because Claude is dedicated for coding. So it does explain, but I didn't bother reading the explanation. It was too long.
But is that a technology problem or is that a you problem?
No,
Steve?
That's a me problem.
Right.
That's a me problem. I'm not gonna lie. That's a me problem. But when it's a long explanation, you gotta think about those users who are like me, who it's too long. I don't want to bother to read. There's some users like that.
Yeah, but the problem is, you know, people are lazy. That's always been the problem. That'll always be the problem. That's not an AI problem.
Yeah, that's not an AI problem. Same would happen with Stack Overflow.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of people that scrape sites like Stack Overflow for information. Before AI was a thing, they just scraped the web. It was the same thing. That's just lazy people just going out there and grabbing this lazy content.
Yeah, there are some good uses of AI by the some of the news sites. So in Norway, we have a few very big news sites. They do write the articles themselves, but they are starting to use, some of them have started to use AI to write a short summary of what the article is about, which that is a good use case.
I really like that. That's actually one of the things I use Ollama for, is I will ask it to give me a summary of a much longer written document. I'll say, can you summarize this for me? And that really is actually a great use case for it.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have time to read this gigantic novel of something, right? Hey, can you give me a summary of what this is about?
Well, I did attempt to say something similar where I asked it to summarize Frank Herbert's Dune. ChatGPT was like, impossible.
I mean, some Linux cases, you know, certain man pages are gigantic. Like you literally would spend half.
That's
a day
why you have TLDR.
Well, you could also just ask Ollama, hey, can you give me like, you know, a summary, or you can actually tell it what you're looking for that command to do. Can you do this with whatever command, the find command? Hey, I'm trying to do this with the find command. How do I do that? You know, give you
wait. You hit the nail on the head, because I had a similar case where I wanted to rename PDF files. I had like a comic book where the volumes had a weird name with underscores and whatever. I asked AI to give me a single command I can run to rename the files, removing the underscores, just giving them volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, volume 4, whatever. It gave me a command. I was like, instead of testing it first, I was like, hey, AI knows what it's doing. So I used the exact command it gave me. It replaced the underscore with volume 1, volume 2, but not only in the name, but inside the comic, all the text inside the comic, which corrupted all my comic volumes.
I'm just going to say AI made me some coffee this morning.
Hey, Kuya.
Nice.
Hey, Kuya.
You got your Keurig today with AI built in?
I did.
Yeah.
For me, I did use AI on KSU.com. It is a paid search engine service. It's not free, but I used the service to ask me to give me if there are any games that are similar in visuals to one of the games that I used to play called You Think You Arrived, and that has that futuristic visuals that I really like. But when the AI suggested a game such as Enter Chamber, it doesn't have the similar visuals.
No. Yeah, sometimes AI gives you weird answers. And on my server, on my Discord server, I have an art support channel that has a ChatGPT bot called GPT Assistant. where people can ask it, how can I do this in Arch? In Arch Linux, it will reply to them. It's basically just ChatGPT on my server, because I didn't want to provide Arch specific support. I told my users in the announcement channel, I announced that this is how you use the new GPT assistant. You ask it an Arch Linux specific question, it will give you some answers to avoid providing support, Arch specific support. So I'm using ChatGPT on my own Discord server, but it doesn't work all the time, and sometimes it gives completely wrong answers.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Let's remember that GPT and other large language models don't actually know what they're talking about. They just know that what word should go next to fulfill the criteria you set.
It's good most of the time, but I would say like 5% of the time it's going to give you completely the wrong answer.
I was going to say, they're like glorified torrent scrapers.
75% of the time.
Yeah.
You have to really guide it along to get you where you want to be.
And of course, there's some nuance that machines don't understand that humans would. For example, when Dark Zero says, I got these files that have underscores in the file name, can you replace all the underscores with this? You know, a human would say, yeah, replace all the underscores in the file name or the underscores in the files themselves. Well, the AI didn't ask you. It just assumed, yeah, you wanted all the underscores gone. So it just replaced everything. Right? Where, a human would have known what you were asking.
Another problem I find with these large language models is that everything, if you want to do anything or ask or get anything out of them, you need to form a long-winded sentence
you
or
have
set of sentences.
You have to drill it down to specifics. If you ask it something very general, there's no telling what you're going to get back.
Not just that, like there is a reason I still use search engines. I can, sometimes the keyword that I need to use is a single word.
Yeah, but the first result in Google now is an AI-generated answer.
I still don't get that because I'm not from US.
Okay.
I still need to like write like 2-3 sentences for what would in a search engine be a single word. That's the big problem for me with this, because you have to write long-winded questions. Which, why?
I remember when the Linus Tech Tips on the Van show, it's almost a year ago, when Luke told Linus about this new chat GPT that he had discovered, or the new model that was rolled out, I don't remember which, and he told him how it worked. And he so they used almost an hour talking only about this, and Linus was just blown away. You could see it in the video. One of the things that Luke pointed out very strongly is that you need to be very careful when using this, because especially ChatGPT can be very confidently wrong, and it will defend its position despite it told it being wrong. So you need to be careful when using tools.
Yeah, I've gradually gotten away from ChatGPT here in the past few months. I like using Llama a lot more, just because obviously the licensing being open source rather than proprietary. But I just think Llama's a better product.
And I tend to prefer Llama because you can run it in terminal.
Yes. So you can script with it, right? That's what you want to do, right?
Yeah, you can script with it. I did attempt to download the 200 gig version, but running it on a laptop with an integrated
that's really
GPU.
The downside is space. That's the
downside. Space. I do have space because it's a 1 terabyte SSD NVMe, and I only have XeroLinux installed. I don't have a lot of Flatpaks installed, so I don't have anything occupying too much space. So I have the rest of the drive all to me. So I attempted installing it, but try running that thing on a laptop with an integrated GPU.
Yeah, that thing will have problems with memory and storage.
Yeah, it's gonna have RAM problems for sure. Yeah,
and CPU problems. When I tried to run it, it ranked up the fans to maximum, and the time it took to give me an answer was 25 minutes.
Yeah, 200,000. Model isn't meant to run on a CPU, much else, and even a single GPU. It's meant to run in a data center with one of those.
Yeah, I'm not going to fault them. I'm not going to fault them because they did mention on the GitHub, you download this model, you better have the hardware to run it.
I mean, they warn you. Like most of the open source tools, where the terminal applications or the GUIs, like the front ends to Llama or whatever, they usually warn you. Like if you don't have a GPU, just don't bother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I did try it. I just wanted to. It was out of curiosity, but
you will literally see a character at a time appear on the screen as it starts to get slow.
Yeah. This is what happened. This is what happened with me.
Yeah,
weird. It's almost like so I've been so I have a Yellowfin server, which is an alternative to Plex. Running on a server in my basement on a rack server.
Me too.
I have a PowerEdge with enough hard drive space for my use. And one thing that I can't get to work is GPU encoding, re-encoding, because there is only an integrated, very basic GPU on rack servers. And so I've been and this talk reminds me that I was thinking about that a good rig for such a setup for either running a video server for like a Yellowfin or Plex, or an LLC like this, an AI model. Use old cheap mining rigs which have lots of GPUs on them. Could be a good use case for this.
Yeah, but just don't buy them from Facebook Marketplace, because the Facebook Marketplace, they overcharge by 10,000%.
Yeah.
There was one guy who wanted to sell a mining rig which had 980 Ti's, a bunch of 980 Ti's for $12,000.
I bought for my PowerEdge server. I bought a AMD 7150 Fire Pro dual GPU video card for my accelerator. For my video accelerator, I picked up for like $40 on eBay.
Yeah, but how fast is that? That's not fast.
No, it's actually
it's a lot faster.
Yeah, but it's $40. I mean,
it should work just fine.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, I'm about to leave, so
yeah, give us a last word because we're all about to get out of here. So go ahead first.
Dang, I missed the party, man.
Yeah, we'll be on a little bit afterwards. Hang out with us a bit, Alex.
I'm like the fat lady at the bar trying to get picked up, aren't I?
I am now Linux only. I only run Linux.
It's
what?
Machines.
Finally, it only took you decades.
Well, I still have Windows VM. It took me hours to get it optimized. But yeah, I'm Linux only now. And for everybody else who hasn't yet heard, check out my and Josh's podcast at show.taxbase.com/@NTA or on YouTube at youtube.com/@NoTaxAllowed.
Yeah, and I will try to post a link to the YouTube channel, and I'll put that in the YouTube chat right now. Hold on just a second. For you guys can go check out.
There is an episode with DT. So
that's right. From a couple of weeks. Matter of fact, one of the topics was a lot about AI, which you kind of discussed here.
Wow. Nice.
And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
All right, Big Bob. Take care. All right. Let's get a last word from Alex.
Well, I just got here. Hello and goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's glad to be back. We did a live last Saturday, and then we got one coming up today. Me and Hip Dad together on the Linux Tube.
What time is it?
We're going to be on 3 p.m. my time, 6 p.m. Central time, I believe. You're Central, right?
I am.
Yeah, you're like 3 hours behind us, right, or ahead of us. So I'm on the West Coast.
You're on the Pacific.
Yeah.
It's a 2 hour difference, so that'll be 5 o'clock my time.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
So
we'll check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm coming back. I got some videos in the pipeline. I was supposed to have some out this last week, but I got slammed with rail cars at work. We got 13 and we had to offload. So We didn't actually finish till yesterday. I didn't get home till very late. But other than that, I've still been doing Linuxy things. I've been working on my network. I recently discovered the Omada controller and the Omada ecosystem for TP-Link, and set up pretty much so for my Jellyfin server and my PowerEdge server, actual semi-professional network in my house. Boy, did I do a whole lot of learning. But I tell you what, TP-Link and their Omada ecosystem makes it so beautiful. It really does. I mean, you can granularly load balance and actually put, your traffic from port to port on any switch and on the router. And you can even set up VLANs. VLANs is the way to go.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, very cool.
Yep.
All right, Alex. Well, thanks for hanging out, and you can chat with us a little bit after we kill the stream as well. We'll be here for a minute. Soulblue, give us the last word.
Yeah. So I have been using for the last 7 or 8 months or something. So since April, I have been using AI in order to generate music. So I've started to put music on YouTube. It started with December 23rd of last year. My little sister was found dead in her home. It was a suicide. It was determined, but that's another story. So and then the need to do something in order to commemorate her popped into my head every now and again. And in April, someone linked to a recording on Suno that they found humorous. It was a Christian song, and they were in metal, and he was baffled by it. And this was the start. So I'm using Suno in order to create music. So that's fun. But the lyrics are all mine, but the music is clearly generated. So I'm content with the traffic that I have, which is not too much, but yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Thanks for hanging out with us, Soulboo. Grayson, give us the last word.
Sure. I just released a new video on my Odyssey channel for a game developer called Yako Games. It's about the tooltip. And it's about the tooltip that appears on the bottom of a screen. It can be difficult for people with visual disabilities to see the text when zoomed in. So I just I did a new video on that this morning.
Well, I just posted a link to your Odyssey channel in the YouTube chat for anybody that wants to check you out over on Odyssey.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Grayson. And Steve, send us out with the last word.
Speaking of Odyssey, I wanted to mention that Odyssey, for whatever reason, stopped synchronizing YouTube videos because they had an issue or whatever for a while. I don't know if they synchronize again now, but I received an email a week ago mentioning, hey, we stopped syncing YouTube videos. We'll let you know when we are back to it, and they haven't let me know since. So I don't know if they fixed the issue or not, but there was that. And I wanted to mention to the people, there's a new project, a new XeroLinux project coming soon. How soon, nobody knows, not even I. But it's related to Arch install, and there might be a XeroLinux version of Arch install coming soon. It's really long. It will take a long time to become a reality, because I'm in the process of learning Python, because now I'm not going to do it the AI way. I'm going to do it using my own brain, my own curiosity. And I really want to learn Python, and I'm not going to do it blindly. So it will take a while, but the expected ETA mid next year. So towards summer next year, because I need a long time to learn. I'm a very slow learner when it comes to coding, but look out for that. If it comes sooner, yay. If it doesn't come sooner, well, it's going to come anyway. But it's an ongoing project, and if anybody is knowledgeable in Python, who would like to contribute to that idea, that project, XeroLinux project, feel free to contact me on Discord.
Just make sure to make your letters curvy.
Yeah, super curvy. Thanks,
yeah. All right. Thank you, Steve. Of course, I need to thank you guys for hanging out with me on camera, and we had some folks that were here earlier that have already dropped off. You guys are awesome. You guys in the YouTube chat are also awesome. I'm also going to show some cards with some names here. So these are the patrons, obviously. I want to thank all of these folks. And other than that, everybody, wave bye to YouTube.